It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend.
They called him a music mogul, a kingmaker, the ultimate success story in hip-hop. But yesterday, as Cassie Ventura took the stand in court, that carefully crafted image crumbled right before our eyes. Diddy's face turned pale as his ex-girlfriend detailed incidents so disturbing that even the most seasoned courtroom reporters were left speechless. The man who once controlled an empire couldn't control his reactions as Cassie revealed everything, and we mean everything, about what allegedly happened behind closed doors.
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
For decades, Sean Diddy Combs walked through the music industry like he owned it, because he practically did. The man built bad boy records from nothing, turned artists into superstars, and created a brand that expanded beyond music into fashion, vodka, and media. On paper, Diddy was the ultimate success story. The guy who showed everyone how to turn hip-hop into serious business money. But that perfect image, that carefully crafted persona of business genius, mentor, and music visionary, it was hiding something much darker. If you believe what's coming out in court right now, while magazines put him on covers for his business moves, while fans cheered his performances, while everyone saw his polished red carpet smile, Cassie Ventura was reportedly living a completely different reality. The contrast was shocking to everyone in that courtroom yesterday. Here's a man who presents himself as the ultimate professional in public. Custom suits, perfect grooming, always saying the right thing in interviews. But the allegations? They paint a picture of someone completely different behind closed doors. Someone unrecognizable to fans who only knew his public face. Court reporters noted how he arrived for day 2, looking exactly like the billionaire mogul we all recognize. He walked in surrounded by his team of high-priced lawyers, nodding confidently to people in the courtroom, even smiling occasionally. The man looked like he was heading to a business meeting, not facing serious allegations from his ex-girlfriend. That confidence? It didn't last long. Multiple witnesses described how Diddy's whole demeanor changed within the first 30 minutes of Cassie's testimony. The swagger disappeared. The confidence evaporated. The calm business face started showing cracks. As Cassie began describing specific incidents from their relationship, Diddy's legal team jumped up with objections, repeatedly, almost desperately, trying to stop her words. Can you imagine this? The man who built a billion-dollar empire, who controlled the careers of countless artists, who negotiated massive business deals, suddenly unable to control his own reactions in a courtroom. Witnesses described how Diddy couldn't sit still as Cassie spoke. The power dynamic had completely flipped. When Cassie actually took the stand, people in the courtroom couldn't take their eyes off Diddy. His face reportedly drained of color, like someone had pulled a plug. He started fidgeting with his tie, then his cufflinks, then just his hands. At one point, court observers noticed him frantically writing notes and passing them to his lawyers. The notes came so fast that one of his attorneys had to put a hand up to slow him down. One court reporter described it as watching someone realize they've lost control of the narrative for the first time in their life. Another person present said Diddy looked physically ill as Cassie calmly detailed their relationship. A third witness mentioned seeing Diddy close his eyes several times, like he couldn't bear to look at Cassie or hear what she was saying. And this was just the beginning. As Cassie's testimony continued through the afternoon, the courtroom would soon discover exactly why Diddy couldn't keep his cool. The specific allegation she was about to make would send shockwaves through the entire music industry and potentially destroy the legacy Diddy spent decades building. The man who always controlled the story was about to face a version he couldn't edit or produce.
And at some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah. She's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh, no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Well, Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, he would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down. She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so frequently it eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to take, she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony, Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap at the defense table there.
When Cassie Ventura took the stand, you could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. Everyone knew this moment was coming, but nobody, not even Diddy's legal team, was truly ready for what she was about to say. After years of staying quiet, years of holding these stories inside, Cassie finally had her day to speak. And speak she did. The slow unraveling. She started small. That's what made it so devastating. Cassie began by describing how she met Diddy when she was just 19 years old. He was already a music industry titan, a millionaire many times over with connections everywhere. She? A young model hoping for a music career. The power imbalance was staggering from day one. And according to Cassie, Diddy knew exactly how to use it. Her testimony built like a horror movie, each revelation more chilling than the last. The control first came the small things, how he allegedly demanded to know her whereabouts at all times, how he'd show up unannounced if she was out with friends, how he allegedly threatened to shelve her music if she didn't comply, how he sabotaged collaborations with other artists if he felt threatened. Then came the surveillance. Court transcripts show Cassie described how Diddy allegedly installed tracking software on her phone. She testified that he would call her minutes after she arrived somewhere, knowing exactly where she was. The isolation. She claimed he systematically cut her off from friends, the ones who might put ideas in her head about leaving him. One by one, her support system disappeared, until Diddy was all she had. The judge had to call for order 3 separate times during this part. Diddy couldn't control himself, shaking his head, whispering loudly to his lawyers, making faces the jury couldn't miss. Each warning from the judge bought only 5 minutes of composure before he'd unravel again. It was like watching a man who'd never been told no realize, for the first time, that he couldn't control the narrative. The smoking gun. Then, the moment that changed everything. Cassie pulled out her phone. Her attorney projected texts and emails onto the courtroom screen. The look on Diddy's face? Pure shock. He clearly never expected she'd kept these. There they were, in his own words, apologies for violent outbursts, threats to her career if she spoke out, messages that directly contradicted years of PR spin, the violence. But those messages were just the beginning. As Cassie continued, the courtroom fell deathly silent while she described being thrown against walls during arguments, an incident where he allegedly pushed her down a flight of stairs in Miami, multiple occasions where he choked her until she nearly lost consciousness. Jurors reacted viscerally. One woman wiped tears. A male juror couldn't meet Diddy's eyes. Even veteran reporters admitted they were unprepared for the graphic detail. And all of this? Just the prelude to the hotel incident. The one that would explode this case into something even bigger.
Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm going to be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
I thought I was going to die that night. Cassie's voice, barely above a whisper, cut through the courtroom like a knife. Every person in that room leaned forward, straining to hear. She was describing the incident, the one at the Four Seasons Hotel that had stayed buried for years. No press leaks, no blind items, nothing. Until now. Cassie explained why she'd kept it secret. Fear for her career, fear for her safety, fear that no one would believe her over a man as powerful as Diddy. But on that witness stand, no more silence. The night it happened. What started as a normal industry after-party turned into a nightmare. According to Cassie, Diddy became enraged after seeing her talk to another executive. His smile vanished. He grabbed her arm hard enough to leave marks. He whispered threats through clenched teeth while maintaining his charming host act. Then, the moment that made jurors sit bolt upright. He dragged me through the hotel lobby to the elevators. She described, crying, trying to pull away, making enough of a scene that security approached. The guard recognizing Diddy and backing off after one question. He just asked if everything was okay. When Mr. Combs said yes, he walked away. He didn't even ask me if I was okay. The evidence they never saw coming. Then came the photos. Cassie's lawyer presented images she'd taken herself the next morning. Bruised arms, a split lip, red marks circling her neck. These weren't crime scene photos. They were worse. Shaky, grainy shots taken in a bathroom mirror. The kind of proof only someone terrified of not being believed would take. Diddy's legal team erupted. These aren't authenticated. Could be from anything. Not submitted in discovery. The judge shut down every objection. As the images flashed on the courtroom screens, one juror clapped a hand over her mouth. Two men turned their heads away. Another juror's hand shook as she scribbled notes. The 48-hour nightmare. Cassie's testimony grew darker. A champagne bottle thrown at her head, shattering against the wall. The room destroyed. Lamps broken, tables flipped, a fist through the bathroom door. Worst of all, being trapped there for 2 days. Phone confiscated. Threats if she tried to call for help. As she finished this part of her story, every head in the courtroom swiveled toward Diddy. What happened next would define the trial, and possibly his legacy forever.
I think what the defense is going to say is that this wasn't blackmail, this was not coercion, this was consensual. We know that Cassie started out with Sean Combs as an early person with someone who is trying to get her career started, and he was going to help her. That's what the defense is going to say, that she was starting out and wanted someone to support her. They did their first record deal together. That's something I think the defense is going to focus on, and had it not been for Sean Combs, she wouldn't be where she is right now. The prosecution obviously is saying he was in control. It may have started out as a consensual. It may have started out with her being excited about seeing him, but ultimately he took control of that relationship. He took control of her career. This is their key witness, and she's on that stand trying to explain all of the charges that the prosecution wants to hit home with that jury.
No, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So the prosecution is questioning Cassie now, still questioning her.
The defense hasn't even got a chance to, I mean, that might change based on the timing, but, you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day. We learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs would refer to her as CC. The prosecution says, what does CC stand for? She said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have empathy, sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was, someone she said that was trying to figure out who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs, she's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control. So I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now. But I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today, she broke down in that courtroom.
The mask slips. It was the moment nobody in that courtroom would ever forget. Diddy, the man who built an empire on staying cool under pressure, completely unraveled in front of everyone. For decades, he'd perfected the image. The smooth-talking businessman. The unflappable mogul. The man who never let you see him sweat. But as Cassie's testimony hit its most damning points, that facade disintegrated in real time. The breakdown, court reporters who'd covered hundreds of celebrity trials said they'd never seen anything like it. The transformation was physical. Shoulders hunched, hands trembling, eyes darting like a cornered animal. His legal team went into overdrive. Attorneys passing frantic notes, "Stay calm," in all caps. A lead lawyer gripping Diddy's arm like a lifeline. Then, the explosion. When Cassie described an incident at his Hamptons home, Diddy slammed his fist on the table. The crack echoed through the silent courtroom. "Mr. Combs," the judge warned, "if you can't control yourself, I will have you removed." For one breathless moment, America's most powerful music exec nearly got ejected from his own trial. The power shift. Witnesses described a man who'd never been held accountable, constantly mouthing, "That's not true," shaking his head like a petulant child. Forgetting the jury was tracking his every reaction. It was like watching a king realize his crown was fake, one observer noted. The irony was brutal. For years, Diddy allegedly controlled Cassie's career finances. Even her phone now? She held all the power. No PR spin. No security to silence her. Just the truth. The tapes that changed everything, then came Cassie's nuclear option. Audio recordings. Diddy's own voice threatening her family if she ever spoke out. The reaction was instantaneous. Diddy leaped from his chair. "You know that's not how it happened." 3 lawyers physically restraining him. The judge called an emergency recess, but the damage was done. The celebrity witness bombshell. Just when the room thought it was over, Cassie dropped her final grenade. Texts from Diddy's inner circle. From a Grammy-winning rapper. "You okay? What I saw tonight wasn't right." From a pop icon. "I've known him 15 years. This isn't normal." From his longtime producer. "I told him to get help. Call me when you're safe." Diddy's own damning messages flashed on screen. "I'm sorry about last night. It won't happen again." Name it, new car, new apartment, whatever. 2 million, clean break, don't talk. The abandonment. Then came the real tell. One by one, Diddy's entourage slipped out of the courtroom. By day's end, the man who arrived with an army sat nearly alone. The aftermath. As the hearing adjourned, Diddy's security detail formed a human wall. Reporters sprinted to file the explosive details. Cassie walked out with her head high. This wasn't just a trial anymore. It was the unmaking of an icon. The question isn't about winning now. It's whether Diddy, as the world knew him, can survive what just played out in court.